Hey there. So I'm very excited about this video. This is where we're going to cover the trainings. I love these trainings because these are about brand culture and it reinforces teamwork, mission, and relationships. So this is why I mandate that every client I work with go through a branding module where we create a brand guide. We understand your brand voice, your brand colors, your logo, and all that, so that we can take what we created in the brand operation and refer to it to create a culture for your team. And that brand guide is going to be an essential tool as you create communications for your team with orientations or with emails to candidates, things like that. Because remember, it's not just about getting someone in the door, it's also about doing things in a way where you don't have to do them anymore, putting them on automation mode and letting technology handle it for you. So that's another thing I help you with when we work together. So it's a lot of upfront work, but once you know how the processes work, you can outsource them or to humans, or just simply give it to technology. You're going to need tools to support you. It's just impossible to do everything alone. So that's why I'm here. So anyway, okay, so for this client, I made 3 trainings, and it's really important to set the tone for employees, right? To set the tone for what's going to be tolerated and what's not going to be tolerated. So if you, the employer, are the first one having conversations about discrimination, equity, all these things that people know exist but no one really talks about, these things that can happen, then you're setting the standard that, hey, we keep our eyes out for this. And so now that the employees, once they're hired, are aware of this, anyone immediately who is thinking of doing something behind your back or is not down for being held responsible or accountable for reporting things that could potentially shut the business down. For example, when health inspectors come, you need people as part of your team who you can trust to relay information and to care about the things that you, the business, cares about. That's caring about the laws, caring about the other teammates, caring about the customers, caring about the quality of your products and services. And that relies on us, the business owner, as to how we train them. We equip people. The truth is, you have to prepare people to care. So these trainings equip people to do just that. So this is a standard training that can easily be replaced again with your logo, with the fonts we produce from the brand guide. Make it really customizable to the brand of your brand voice, so it sounds like you. It sounds like your business, and people are building a relationship with you as they're being trained. So it's educating people on things that will not be tolerated, educating them on the chain of command as to what if these things happen, who will I go to? And again, of course, we prefer HR, but as a small business owner, you may not have that yet, and that's okay as long as you have a way of things being handled. Because another thing you don't want are employees starting all this drama, talking behind each other's back, just perpetuating issues, and that can happen. Okay, so again, we as business owners have to take responsibility for the culture. So I'm all about educating employees on bias, discrimination, prejudice, on anything that can put the business in a position where they are being jeopardized. And so that's because once we hold those precedents and those strong boundaries and educate our own teammates, they're going to become our reporters. They're going to become our partners too, our business partners, and they're going to look out for us, and they're going to also protect us. So it's not the procedures just protecting us anymore. It's our employees having our best interest in mind. That'd be awesome to feel so good to come to work knowing that your employees have your best interest in mind, right? So knowing, addressing these legal things that you don't want to happen in your business, but are actually a real possibility, but even if it may not happen, things like sexual harassment, discrimination, prejudice, we have to address them because it tells the employee about who we are as a company, that we care, that we're not putting our head in the sand, and that you matter. Okay, so I prefer addressing this head on in an orientation, so that you're setting the tone from the gate that these things will not be tolerated. Here's how we handle them if it happens, and here's how you can help us keep our culture safe. Okay, next is a fun training literally about the company culture. So this is where you're creating excitement for the employee. You're getting them excited, and you're helping them build a relationship with your brand. It's not about just wanting a job or wanting money or liking the services and products. It's really about making sure that it's a good fit with the employee because of their internal values. And so a lot of this culture presentation deals with that. And so in the brand operation, we're going to establish your own culture, your values. For this particular client, it was communication, it was integrity, it was trust. And so we have to define that for people. We have to tell them, what does that look like? We give them real life scenarios. We give them transparent looks into how we create these values and why they're important and what's going to happen if they're not followed, So it's also about business owners and managers showing up with such transparency that they're seen as other humans who can make mistakes, who can do things poorly, and who can always improve, right? So that everyone feels like equals. And so that's another thing that culture does. It kind of knits a team spirit, so everyone's there's no competitiveness or no disgruntledness. There's just an excitement to serve the mission. The team expectations. So this was, again, more on values, but this was more of a procedural training in the sense of how to treat customers and how to handle certain scenarios. So that way they can have a sense of the proper way of doing things on the job before actually working. So think about, how this can be easily automated, right? These kinds of presentations. You have them view it online, and then they take the quiz, and they get a certificate, and then they sign contracts about understanding and agreeing to what they've been trained on. And again, this is another layer of protection for your business, because if you're falsely accused of anything, this is a paper trail stating that this is what the employee learned. They had plenty of chances, showing the historical evidence of resources and education that's provided before an employee got fired. This is another thing you have to keep in mind with teammates, is that they may get fired. So again, it's having a paper trail and historical evidence trail to justify the business's reasons, so that it's not done emotionally, that you're not jeopardized of being sued or having a poor report with the person, because you want to maintain a good relationship, because again, they represent a network of people, right? So it's important to really value relationships and put it first. So the way you go about qualifying someone to be dismissed from the job, or as I like to say, you let people disqualify themselves. So having certain metrics in place where you can measure for poor performance, or you can measure incompatibility, and so these are all systems we set up that are really important to follow. And then once you have all these things set up, it becomes so much easier to manage teammates. It's not stressful. It's not emotional, because you're just going by the book. And it makes it easier for everyone, because you're pointing to something that everyone knows about. Everyone's on the same page. Everyone knows the same information. They have the same knowledge. So it's a fair game for everyone. And again, this is really important for legal issues too. So it protects the business all the way. All right. So this is trainings, and on to the next video.